we do have another game to preview, and it is, potentially the most aesthetically pleasing game of the whole thing.
Yes.
We have a good old-fashioned Iberian slugfest, I say, between Portugal and Spain.
Yes.
This game takes place also on Saturday, March 20th. It is 3 o'clock local time in Portugal, which is 3 o'clock here in the afternoon.
Yeah.
This is at the Jamor High Performance Centre in Lisbon, and the weather, as it has been all tournament, is to be lovely and glorious and not a bother on it.
Pretty place in Lisbon. It's a lovely looking ground, actually,
isn't it?
Yeah. No, it looks great on the TV or on the Rugby Europe website as it is. But it's a very pretty ground that the Portuguese have. It's a shame that they couldn't actually back it up with a win there. So
against Romania. Yeah.
It's a shame, but
it's definitely a good thing that they had the gap week after that one. But it's a massive game here between two very similar footballing Iberian sides who find themselves 0-2 after the first couple of weeks, and
it could
both
be very
these
telling
teams,
because they both have World Cup aspirations, and with that 0-2 start, it could be only the one of them that goes, or none of them.
I would say probably.
Yeah.
Like right now, the two of them are sitting third and fourth in the competition. Both outside of, fourth and fifth in the competition. Russia third. So I know they have the game in hand on Georgia and Romania. But they are, 0-2, fourth and fifth, out of automatic qualification spot 1, automatic qualification spot 2, and the repechage position.
Yeah.
Both teams out of those positions. Now, there is a long way to go.
Yeah.
Obviously, they both do still have games against Russia that will be telling.
Yeah.
They both have very, very similar situations facing them. But if they go 0-3 here and have a game against Russia, which is not an easy game later in the season, the World Cup could be crashing down on top of both of them. And I think both sides are going to have to come out with a clutch win here, and
it's must win almost for both sides, which makes it very, very fun.
It does
from a neutral point of view, because the way they play, when they must win, the way they'll try and go about it is by playing glorious, attacking, ambitious rugby, and it's in the sunshine in Lisbon, and it's a neighbourhood rivalry.
For guys who aren't invested in the whole tier 2 thing, in terms of just finding a game to watch if out of curiosity or nothing else, this game does promise to be sumptuous. Both of these sides love to attack. They move the ball very well. They're kind of like little Uruguay disciples in terms of how they want to go about, becoming an explosive tier 2 weapon.
Good kicking games from all, because they all of their players grew up playing football as well, as I'm sure they did, because it's just the tradition there. So their whole back line to a man on both sides can kick pretty well. And they like to attack space. They like to run at pace and attack space.
Absolutely, From Portugal's point of view, I suppose, starting with them as the hosts, they've now had a week to digest what was just a gut-wrenching finish to that game against Romania, where they had the lead. They scored that try on 67 minutes. Their whole bench and their whole team went balubas because they thought they had it with the 13-point lead, not dissimilar to Wales at the weekend.
Yeah, indeed.
And then they got burned in the last 7 minutes, just running out of energy, and Romania managed to find a couple of tries, and it was pretty heartbreaking for them. They have been, from an honest point of view, they have been playing up to the last quarter the best offensive rugby in the competition. Probably maybe Georgia, but certainly better than Spain.
Yeah, maybe Georgia, but that's only a maybe, because they've looked really, really good. They have gas, as you said. The caveat is that last quarter they have been absolutely nowhere in the last quarters, and it has killed them on both occasions. So they'll have to work on that. But as far as the matchup, if it is to be a shootout, you'd kind of think Portugal are the slicker side at the moment.
At the moment, no question.
With Marques at 9 and Portela then at 10, they just have two lovely halfbacks, really lovely halfbacks that get them moving, pull the strings nicely, little inside balls going all day, and they have, as I say, pace outside them, to options, runners running hard, and those guys making the right calls is the way that they like to play. Their pack is a little suspect always, and I suspect even in this contest.
But even against Romania, they did stand up front for 60 minutes. It was the problem was what came after it, of course, and that is an issue here, because Spain have on the flip side have not wilted. They kind of wilted against Romania in terms of tilting.
Compared to you're looking at Romania, Russia, Georgia as the big juggernauts in this competition in terms of the pack, and these two sides as the kind of pacey attacking sides to counterbalance that. Spain have more in the tank in terms of their tight five, in terms of mixing it with those guys when in the trenches. Portugal have to be a bit more circumspect about it. They have to try and play around the teams rather than through them, because they really don't have the heft in the pack. They're
very adept at doing that. Their passing is very, very slick. Their support play is France-esque in terms of their capacity so far to turn line breaks into tries. I mean, I love the support play from Marrakesh. I love the little inside balls that they're throwing to blindside wingers and then supporting again.
Yeah.
They find beautiful
simple
tries.
catch-pass tries that they've been executing, made look very simple, but it's just beautiful flowing rugby. Yeah, no, when they're in their pomp, they're an absolute pleasure to watch and tough to root against. They have been a little bit better than at fronting up with packs in the early goings, as you say, but will they be able to bring that energy and do that to the Spanish? I don't know. The Spanish might try and kind of flex their muscles a little bit and make it a bit of a scrap for them, and the question is then will they be able to kind of get themselves, establish a lead, I guess, going into the final quarter, which may be what they need, and then holding on, not quite wilting as they do.
Yeah, so where are we with Portugal and 3-pointers? You know, Marrakesh has been doing a really good job of punishing teams for indiscipline, which I do cite as one of the very important things in this competition. Good goal kickers, invaluable. A lot of these teams lose discipline.
Is one of them.
Marrakesh kicks his goals, he racks up decent scores, but their offense, when given a few phases to work with and a bit of time to manipulate
defenses,
tends to yield tries, and it has done pretty much every time they've backed themselves in the red zone. They've found scores. Is there a case to be made that, like, gee, even like a 13-point lead against Romania wasn't enough with 10 minutes to go because of the nature of that? So is the angle from Portugal's perspective, you know, maybe we need to fix the last 20 minutes and improve in that area, or do we need to kind of account for a little drop off in the last 20 minutes and rack up a score?
I'm saying Italy should in the
well, it's the same thing. It's the same dynamic that you talk about with Italy. Are Portugal in that position where they really need to start at 100 miles an hour?
I think they do need to kick some threes, but sometimes they do need to go for it. It's a bit more nuanced in that regard, but there have definitely been some that were wrong. Certainly in week 1, I remember they were taking a load of speculative ones from far out. Like Marrakesh nailed the first one from 56 metres, and then that was a great kick and they were 3-0 up or something, but then they spent the next 6 penalties they got in the first half. They took speculative pot shots from the halfway line, and you're much better off in those scenarios. I think it should just be, is it an easy kick? Is the question, I think that would be the question for them. If it's a penalty under the posts, chip it over. They punish ill discipline. But if it's even a little bit on the angle, go to the corner. And if you don't score a try, you'll likely Spain will likely cough up something given their disciplinary record if they apply pressure. But they should be backing their offense as their greatest attribute and try and build a score that way.
Because they've been level with Spain. They've been level in so many of these games up until the second half, and it was the case earlier this year when Spain finished off last year's tournament with a 29-12 win over Portugal. It was about 12-all at half time. You want to see them pick a lead up in the first half. Really, the dynamic that you want if you're a Portugal fan is to see your side be more clinical, is to see maybe Spain get up the pitch. They have a good kicking game too, that's fine. Ordas is going to kick 3, that's fine, but you go up the other end and you make certain that you're going to unpick the team, and if you manage to generate a line break with your speed, you run good support lines, turn it into a try, and if it goes 3-0, 7-3, 7-6, 14-6, that's the kind of picture you want, as opposed to the sort of ding-dong 3-3 until the last quarter when you melt down.
Unless Spain needs one of your guys in the head.
Well, you can rely on, maybe you can rely on a Spanish man to knee you in the head, but I kind of think that there was a touch of Romania factor to why that happened.
Definitely
they have Romania as a disease, the Spanish, so I think that was playing into it, whereas they actually have sort of a big brother relationship with this Portugal team, which is very different mentally.
And that makes it tough for Portugal in all kinds of ways, just especially given the 0-2 start. No, I think you're probably right. I think more often than not in the first half they should be going for the try. They should be backing. They need to score 7, 14, 21, 28 and try and hold on that way, because Marrakesh will probably kick conversions anyway, and they need to back their offense, which has been their best attribute so far.
100%. And then from the perspective of Los Leones, the Spanish, obviously they had huge expectations of themselves coming into this qualification campaign, and they're now under massive pressure after last week, just to come up with some results, obviously primarily given the World Cup context, and just to regenerate
some clean house a little. Like some of those disciplinary issues last week were absolutely baffling.
It's not the way to endear yourselves to a public who you're trying to sell yourselves to either. They let themselves down, and they let Spanish rugby down with that last quarter meltdown. I know it was tough. They couldn't break down the Romanian defence. They couldn't break down Georgia last week either. The passes aren't sticking. where they're supposed to, which is really frustrating.
All of that is true, and it is frustrating.
You cannot melt down like that.
Well, you can't knee people in the head, nor can you clatter people before the ball is even in the same parish as them.
Yeah,
what are you doing?
As a unit, they completely folded in a very, very disappointing way, and the bounce back is going to be huge. They had 4 cards in total at the end, which is a bit ridiculous.
Nuts.
And they're now in a position, as we said at the top of the preview, just backs to the walls. World Cup qualifications on the line.
It's in France. Both of these sides are very aware of the fact that it's France that's hosting. It's neighbours. You want to be there.
Huge benefit to the tier 2 team if you can have it be next door.
Yeah,
kind of takes away the whole fitness and acclimatization and we'll put the tier 2 team in this crusty hotel out the back kind of factor.
Yes,
you can book their own hotels. They know their way around the south of France.
Yeah.
So I think it would be for both of these teams. It could be a huge opportunity missed not to make it to this of all World Cups.
Indeed, yeah.
And they're both in a position to miss out. So I think Spain have had written on the blackboard all week, just beat Portugal, beat Portugal, just beat Portugal. And how do they...
maybe that's enough.
Maybe that's enough. Ordas has come back in a 10 last week.
That should see them in better shape. That he is important to them, as you say. Having a guy who can punish ill discipline with some points is vital. And he did give them a little bit more shape just from 10 in terms of, as you say, the passes haven't been sticking for them so far in the tournament. They'll want to see that happen here. It'll be perfect conditions in Lisbon. They do have that big brother relationship with this Portugal side. They have recent memories, as in this year, of beating them comfortably. So they'll look to mine from that confidence and try and
just negotiate their way through the first half and then put the squeeze on in the second. One of the areas where they have been impressive is the kicking game. The box kicking from Rouet, their aerial ability is really good.
Even the exit kicking from their whole back three as well. Just the ping they get on their ball. It's just like these guys can play football.
It's like a midfielder putting in like a cross field ball or something like a football cross. They do have like a zip on them. But getting the box kick game going because their aerial ability is really good, and Portugal are somewhat vertically challenged.
Yes,
getting on top of them that way, moving the ball well and pinning Portugal back and forcing them to exit, controlling the game, taking points where they are, taking tries where they are. But for the early goings, just making sure that Portugal don't have many opportunities in their half and that they are exerting pressure that will tell in the second half should be enough.
The line, if they can keep it tight for the first half plus first 3 quarters, even if they can keep it within a score, they'll be confident that come the final third or final quarter even they'll be able to get it done. And just be sure as well not to be caught out as the less clinical side. I think they've shown in patches some great offense. They've never actually looked more better than in some games against Portugal, where they've really had chances in open field shootouts to show what they can do. And they have some quality footballers in there. They get Juenas and Quimeno as 2 centres are lovely players. Rouet runs good tracking lines, as Marques does on the other side. If they can get some offloading game going, certainly if they're winning contacts, they should be picking lines off one another, trying to regenerate that offloading game. And some of the tries they do end up pulling off are highlight reel tries. Picture perfect sometimes.
Because they throw the kind of mad basketball passes if they have a chance to do it. And they do pick lines, and they do have pretty pictures and hopes in their minds.
And if the pass doesn't go, they'll fly hack it on because they can all football.
Exactly.
So they definitely are an exciting side, and as you say, it is likely the most aesthetically pleasing matchup in the whole
both sides
contest.
are going to go for it. It's going to be silky rugby in the sun.
What's not to love about that?
Indeed.
And it's backs to the wall for both of them. 0-2, somebody's O has got to go, unless they draw, and then nobody's happy. But
nobody's happy then. I wouldn't do either.
No, it wouldn't.
But both sides need a win here. How do you see it going?
I'm rooting for Portugal. But
Los Leones.
I'm thinking Spain.
Yeah.
That's where my head is at. I think Portugal have really impressed me so far. I think they look really sexy when they string it all together, and Marques is my favourite player of the tournament so far. So I would like to see for him, and I would like to see them hold out in the final quarter and get it done. But I don't know if they will. I think they might wilt again to Spain.
I agree with you that Marques is the player of the tournament so far, and I actually think I'm going to go for Portugal in this one. I was very unimpressed with what Spain did at the end of last game, and from Portugal's point of view, that fault, that issue against Romania, it could go one of two ways. You know, they could be kind of broken by it, or they could sort of use it to galvanise them and address the concerns that they had in that final quarter, because even then they weren't too far away. It was one really bad penalty from the backup lock who gave Romania the in to win the game there at the end.
Yeah.
But if they can just negotiate that a little better and maintain some just better offense than what Spain have been bringing so far, just cleanly better offense. They were good against Georgia, who were the best defense in the competition.
If they can make it a shootout, they look more clinical.
They opened up Georgia, who one of the best defenses in the competition. No, the best defense in the competition. Romania, one of the best defenses in the competition. They opened up them and had them beaten for all money heading into that final quarter, which Spain certainly didn't. So I kind of just think they might put it together. Obviously, I'm not in the camp. It's hard to know how much that will tell and how much the Spanish v Portugal Big Brother thing will tell. But I just, on the evidence of what I've seen so far, I think I back Portugal in this one, and that would be... Kelly, would be a disaster for Spain, but it would be huge for Portugal to get a win like that.
Yeah, absolutely. My heart is with you, but my head is kind of going question mark. We'll see what happens. That takes place on Saturday, as do both games in the Rugby Europe Championship. But,
yes, and they're available to watch on rugbyeurope.tv. I'm pretty sure. Just there'll be a link in the description. Don't quote me on that, but it's free to watch online anyway. You just have to go to their website. Yeah. You might have to sign up, but there's no charge or anything, and it's a great they're good games. It's a good product, and particularly this game will be a hell of a watch for anyone who's just interested in seeing some good, pretty rugby as a neutral, given there's no Six Nations this Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Thanks for watching the Overlap Rugby podcast. If you enjoyed that video, please be sure to like and subscribe. And hey, if you have an opinion of your own, if you disagree with what we're saying, leave a comment down below. We might just get back to you.